Hey there, welcome to Problem 1, Chapter 11. We're writing an employee and a production worker class. The employee class has the employee's name and their ID number, and then the production worker inherits from employee. It's a subclass of employee, and it has a shift number and an hourly pay rate. And then the shift number is an integer value representing the shift the employee works. It's either going to be shift 1, which is the day shift, or shift 2, which is the night shift. And then we're supposed to write appropriate accessor and mutator methods for each class. So, we're just stuffing data into and getting data out of things. And so we're going to do what they ask, and then we're going to make it better. Then finally, once you've written the classes, write a program that creates an object of production worker, gets data from a person, and then stores the data in the object, and then prints it to the screen. Because according to the textbook, that's basically all we can do, which is really kind of sad. Anyway, so here we go. Class employee. There's Curtis again doing his rant against the textbook. So def init, we're going to initialize this, and we're going to say the name is equal to none. We're initializing this to nothing, and we're setting the ID number equal to none as well. Okay, so there's the employee number. We need getters. So get name, self, return self.name like that. And then def get ID number, self, return self.ID number. So there's that. And then we need the setters too. Def set name, self, and then we need the name like that. So, the value to actually set. And we'll do self.name is equal to name like that. And then we'll do def set ID number, self number, and we'll set that self.ID number equal to number. Perfect. Maybe I'll rename that. Maybe I'll rename that to ID number like that. There we go. So there's our employee class. Now we have this production worker class, which has the shift number and the hourly pay rate. So let's do that one now too. But this one inherits from employee. So class production worker like that inherits from employee. Okay, so now we have this class production worker, which inherits from employee, which means that it's going to have a name and an ID number. All of these methods are going to be part of this class too, because remember, it inherits it. It's like all of these things get copied into this when we do that inherit, but it's not really copying, it's inheritance. So we're going to do def init like that, self. And remember, whenever we inherit, we want to call the super init. We want to call the init method of the super class, of the parent class, the base class, the general class, whatever you want to call it, super init. So when we call initialization, when we create a production worker here, it's going to call this method, which then in turn calls this method, which is going to set those two things to none. And then we're going to set this stuff down here. Self.shift number is equal to none. And then self.hourly rate is equal to none. And now we need to do getters and setters for just these two things, because we already have getters and setters for the name and the ID number, which is part of this class. And remember, all of these things are going to be part of the production worker class as well because of inheritance. So now we need def get hourly rate, and that's going to be a self because we're just returning the value that's been stored inside there. And then we'll do def get shift number like that. And we'll return self.shift number. Okay. And then we need setters for these things too. Set hourly rate. Oh my goodness, right? Rate. And that'll be self.hourly rate is equal to rate. And then we'll do def set shift number like that. Self number, number is fine. And then, maybe I'll do shift number because why not? And then self.shift number is equal to shift number. Okay, so now we have all of the getters and setters set up. There's a squiggly mark here because I forgot my colon, so I'll put that in there. And now I have a production worker and I have the employee up here. I'm going to go ahead and split my screen so that we can see both of them at the same time while we're working on this. So there's our employee and there's our production worker here. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to create an instance of this production worker class inside our main function. So let's go ahead and do that. So def main, and again, I put two spaces here because we put two spaces between our classes and our top level functions. There's one blank space between each of the method declarations because that's nice. So inside here, we're going to do something like worker is equal to production worker. There we go. And then we're going to ask the person who's running the program to enter a bunch of information. So we'll do something like, let's see. So what do we need? We need first we need the employee's name, because remember, production worker inherits from employees. So production worker is an employee, which means that it has a name and an ID number. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's do something like name is equal to input worker's name, like that. So that'll give us the name, and then we can set the name. You can see here's that list of things. It's got set hourly rate and set shift number, and those are the things from production worker right here. Set hourly rate and set shift number, but then it also has set name and set ID number because it inherits that from the employee. So set name, and we're going to pass in the name like that. And let's keep going. So what's the next thing? We need an ID number. So let's do ID number is equal to input workers ID number. So like that. And then we'll do worker.set ID number, and we'll pass in ID number like that. And then we'll do, let's see, what's up next? Shift number. Okay. Shift number is equal to, and this needs to be an integer. So I'm going to go ahead and just do this, shortcut thing here. Workers shift. 1 for day, 2 for night. Perfect. So we'll get that. And then we'll set worker.set shift number, and we'll throw in that shift number inside there like that. And then finally, we've got the last piece of information, the hourly rate. So hourly rate is equal to, and that's probably going to be a float. So let's go ahead and do that. Input workers hourly rate, like that. And then we'll set it on there. Worker dot set hourly rate, just like that. And then it wants us to print everything out. Oh my goodness. So basically, I've just spent all of this time doing I'm going to do all of this input work, and then I would flip it around, and now I'm going to be I'm going to print out each of these things that I just entered, which again, this is not fun programming in my opinion. This is let's do the minimum possible to make it interesting. So print name. So we'll do name, and we'll do worker.getName like that. And then we're going to print, let's see, ID, and then we'll do something like worker.getID number like that. And then we're going to print, let's print the hourly rate. And let's do worker.getHourly rate like that. And then print, what's the last thing here? Shift number. And then we'll print out the worker.shift number. Get shift number like that. Okay, great. So there's our whole program. It's a program. If name is equal to main, like that, and we'll call main. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this here. I'm going to run it, and ooh, boy, we're going to make this come over here to the right. I don't know how that happened. That got way over there like that. So the worker's name, that's going to be me, Curtis. My ID number is AB123. My shift is obviously the day shift, and my hourly rate is $35.62 an hour. And there we go. Everything is printed out. Okay, let's make this a little better. Because remember, the whole point of having these classes is to do things in these methods up here. So if I were to run this again, and I got the worker's name here, so what happens if I just hit enter and then enter and enter? Oh, look, things are just blowing up all over the place. So this is really kind of this is not what we want. So for each of these setters here, we should probably do stuff. We should do something like if name.strip. Let's actually just do name is equal to name.strip. We'll get rid of all of the extra white spaces. And then if the length of the name is equal to 0, then we're going to raise a value error. And we're going to say name must not be empty. That's a good thing to have. And we should probably do the same thing with the ID number. So the ID number here is equal to ID number.strip, like that. And then if the length of the ID number is equal to 0, let's raise a value error. ID number must not be empty. So now that we have this stuff in place, if I run it again, I'm going to go ahead and kill that and hit run again. If I hit enter now, if I just enter worker's name, now I get that error. And I get this error, value error, name must not be empty. So let's go ahead and fix that in our program down here. So down here, it's got input worker's name and set name. And so this set name, I'm going to run this again so we can see where it actually fails. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, and you can see right here on line 36, that's where I'm raising that value error up here because it's bad. And then on line 69, I'm calling set name right here. And so that's where this error is happening. So what I want to do is I want to keep doing this. I want to do while true. And then I'm going to try, okay? I'm going to try to do this. And if I can get past this, then everything is okay. So I'll just break out of that while loop. And down here, I'll do except value error like that. And I'll just print out something like, please enter a valid name like that, okay? So now I'm using this while true loop. This will raise an exception, and I can capture it here and print this out, and then it'll come back up here to the while. Only if it gets past this to that break will it actually make sense, or will it not keep looping. So if I play it again here and I just hit enter, it says, please enter a valid name, worker's name. And if I just hit enter again, it keeps doing that until I type in something that's not empty. You see how that works? And let me go ahead and put a little breakpoint here, and we can go to the debugger and we can run this and see what happens. I don't care so much about that. Let's step through this, okay? So I'm going to go ahead, boop, boop, boop. So here's my worker's name. I'm just going to hit enter, okay? And if we look at name right now, name is just the empty string. So I'm going to step inside this set name. Step inside here, and here's that set name, name.strip. So name is still an empty string. Is the length of that equal to 0? The answer is yes. So now it's going to raise a value error. And when it raises this value error, it's going to bubble back up. It's going to say, is there a try block here? And the answer is no. So it's going to go up one level of the call stack, back up to here. It did not do what I expected it to do. So right here, I don't know why it's not actually showing it. That's not very nice of it. I'm going to put a breakpoint right here, okay? So I'll play. Please enter a name, boom. Worker.setName, go. And now you can see here, now it's at the except value error because we were inside that method. And we tried to set it. And that raised a value error. And so it went up the call stack to the next place, the next frame. And we're inside this try block. So it captures that value error and then it prints. Oh my goodness. Can you please go away? Then it prints out, enter a value name right there. I guess it's just going to do that all the time. So enter a valid name, and then it's going to keep going. Boom, boom. And now finally I type in something that's good, Curtis, and I click. Oops, I hit enter. And so now I'm here and the name is Curtis. And when I hit set name, now it's a valid name and no error occurs. And so this break will now run and it'll break out of that while true and go to that next method or the next line down here. And so that's how we can use try except blocks to capture these validation errors. That's a really important thing for us to learn about, these try except blocks. So I can do that with all of these things because ID number is the same thing. I can do something like right here. I want to make sure that this stuff is while true, try these two lines of code. If they're good, then break out of it. Otherwise, if there's an exception, if there's a value error, let's print, please enter a valid ID number. Yeah, like that. So now we're doing some really smart stuff. And here we have shift, and shift should be either 1 or 2. So actually our set shift number right here, this should be either 1 or 2. So if shift number is not equal to 1 and shift number is not equal to 2. So if it's not one of those two things, then what we want to do is we want to raise a value error that says shift number must be 1 or 2, like that. So let's go ahead and run that. Let's come over here and run this. Boom. We'll get that going. Worker's name, Curtis. My ID number is AB123. The shift is, let's say, 6. Boom. And I get that error. Shift number must be 1 or 2. Look at that. So this is what I'm going to do now. So you see that this message here is part of the value error. When I created the value error, which is a object, I'm creating an object of value error type. I'm passing in this string, which is its message. So if I come down here, I'm going to do something like this. I'm going to do while true. I'm going to do try. I'm going to try to do these two things. And if they work, then I'll break out of the while loop. And then I'll do except value error. Okay, and now I'm going to do value error as E. And so I'm going to get a variable. This variable E is going to be set to that object value error. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do print E like that. So I'm going to print E. And then I'm going to print, please enter a valid shift number. Okay, so let's do that. Let's see what happens. So I'm going to close that out. I'm going to hit play. And I'm going to go ahead. Worker's name is Curtis, AB123. I put in number 6. Boom. Shift number must be 1 or 2. You see, that's what's being printed from this value error object. Please enter a valid shift number. And I'm like 0 because I can't read instructions. And then I'm like 1. And then it gets past that. You see how that's working? This is really cool stuff. You can, I mean, it's not cool, but this is much better than like what they were just telling us to do. And then the hourly rate here, what's a good hourly rate? Should we have negative hourly rates or $0 hourly rates? Probably not. So if rate is less than 0, raise value error, rate must be non-negative. Let's do that, okay? So up here, we'll do the same thing. While true, try. I'm going to try these two next lines here. And then I'll break if that works. Otherwise, I'm going to do except value error like that. And I'm going to print out, let me just print E again. So let me do as E, and that should just print out like this should be non-negative. So let me try that. I'll run this and I'll get my name here. Worker's name, Curtis, ID number AB123. The shift is number 2 and -10. Oh, rate must be non-negative. My bad. How about -1? Just kidding. Oh, okay. About $100 an hour. I like that. So there we go. So now we have a program which is doing cool things. It's doing data validation. It's raising an error when that data is not good. And down here, where we're trying to actually get it, we're going to keep looping and we're going to keep trying. And if this line here, if this raises an exception, then it's going to jump down here and capture it and say this, and then come back up to the while block. And eventually, if somebody enters something good, it'll hit this break because no error will occur, and then it'll break out of that while block. So this is a better solution to problem number 1 of what, this person, Mr. Gaddis, said we should do.